I don't know if I've ever have positive mindset, but I have drive, and so I feel like that's my version of positive mindset is like it's focus on solution and focus on what's possible, and maybe that's positive. I don't know if that's positive or not, but that's my version of positive mindset, I think.
And I think it's huge. So I think exactly what you just said. For me, one of my favorite mindset quotes would be control the controllable.
Welcome to the absoluteDOGS Sexier and Squirrel podcast. I'm Lauren Langman. I'm one of the world's leading dog trainers, and it's my mission to help owners become their dog's top priority. In each episode, you'll discover how to gain trust and communicate with your dog like never before, creating unbreakable bonds that make you the most exciting part of their world.
Hello and welcome to the Sexier and Squirrel podcast, the podcast that gives you real life dog training and sometimes human results too. Today, I'm joined by a wonderful friend and co-worker, sometimes of ours, Bill. Literally, I'm so happy you're here. We're talking positive mindset coaching. Welcome. How the devil are you?
I'm well, and thank you for having me.
I'm
This is
super happy.
this is funny because I feel like I don't know if I've ever have positive mindset, but I have drive, and so I feel like that's my version of positive mindset is like it's focus on solution and focus on what's possible, and maybe that's positive. I don't know if that's positive or not, but that's my version of positive mindset, I think.
And I think it's huge. So I think exactly what you just said. For me, one of my favorite mindset quotes would be control the controllable. And what you just said is very much control the controllable. So earlier today, I had a meeting with someone who was like, this is wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, and that's wrong. Right, I have that. And I was like, cool. Okay. Come back with solutions to that. Then I hear you.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
We'll meet soon. You tell me when you're ready. She said, when should we meet? I said, when you're ready. You just tell me. I'll be here when you're ready. You bring the solutions. I'm all in. And I think that there's a massive space for that because it's very disempowering to have a problem and not have any solution to it. And I understand that there are some spaces like where my dad is with his illness right now, there is not an easy solution there, right? Like I get that there are some spaces that you can't always have a solution for. So I don't want to be like positive fake here. Like there are some places that it's harder for sure. But there are a lot of scenarios where we can have a solution, right? Like, I don't know, another friend of mine was saying that she wanted to put like a few different things together. And she said, you know what I could do? I could rent out one of my rooms. I was like, yes, you could. Brilliant idea. That type of thing.
Right. So one of the ones that I find people seem to, especially right now in the way we currently live, I think one of the ones that I find that people lose track of is time management. And by that, I mean, people seem to want to operate on other people's time schedule. And if somebody says, I need an answer to this right away, well, that may be their feeling about it. But do you need to answer them right away? Like, I think that the people need to take a step back and realize you're in control of your own time. And just what you said about that person you were speaking to earlier, right? They can get back to you when they're ready. That's you kind of giving them that permission. But very few people do that. Everybody kind of wants everybody else to operate on their timetable. So I'm probably at least 1 year older than you.
Only one.
Only one, probably. But not to date myself or whatever, but I grew up before, like when I was younger, the mobile phones weren't a thing. Like they just didn't exist,
Yeah.
And as soon as those entered the workforce, it all of a sudden was like a leash. It was like, oh, this thing rang, or there's a text message, or there's a whatever. And there's this feeling like, oh, I have to answer this thing right away. And I always say, like, the mobile phone exists so that I have access to things and people and whatever when I want them. It does not exist so that other people have access to me. That's just my personal rule that I set up because, if how annoying it is when you go talk to somebody and you're face to face and you're actually made the time to go meet with somebody and they're just sitting there looking at their phone the whole time. Like that drives me insane. Like this person took the time to actually come meet you face to face and you're going to stare at your phone. Put the phone away, leave it in the car, whatever. Like you don't need the phone. It's not everyone else's leash to be able to control you.
And
it is.
I think the other thing with the phone is there's this immediate like feeling of urgency with it, right? There's a feeling of urgency because someone buzzed you. And I've got a good example here because my dad, he's not particularly tech savvy. And he doesn't even have an email, Bill. So that shows you quite where his tech level is. And he does have a phone. And when it rings, number one, he doesn't know how to turn it on silent. But number two, he's like, get it, quick, get it. And then he'll get on the phone and he'll be like, Lloyd, I can't talk. And I'm like, Dad, why did you answer it? Like, why did you answer it? Because you got on that phone and then you're really grumpy. Let's not do that. Let's actually just put your best self forward. And I understand that there are days that it's maybe not as easy as others, but you know what? Let's turn it on silent. Let's answer it when you want. And then let's get back to him at a good time. He's like, I know, but I've got this happening, I've got that happening. Just wait until you're ready. So the cool thing with the phone is that, like a text or something, you don't have to answer it straight away. You don't have to open it. You don't have to even look at it. And I think that's really important. So yeah, I agree, like the sense of urgency these days. And actually, when we're talking about positive mindset and realistically, it hits on mental health, which I think is really important we acknowledge. For me, mobile phones and sort of social media, really, it's probably two of the worst things that we can have for mental health and positive mindset, because
Agreed.
I can be feeling amazing. I can be having the best day. Like I love it when I set up a really cool day, Bill, where I get to swim my dogs, or I get to walk around I love the site here. So I love walking around the bees and all the birds and literally seeing like days like today, which is just gorgeous. But then I might go on social media and see someone else has done something or doing something or got something or been somewhere. And suddenly your day isn't necessarily as good as you thought it was. And actually that's not true. And that's suddenly your perception. Or you might see some bad news, some horrible news, or something you never might have seen if you hadn't looked at the phone at that moment. And I think that it can really sway. The other thing is social media being taken as fact, like the fact that people can read something and say that, yeah, I read it on social media. Like for me, that doesn't, like social media and phones can change mindsets. And I think that's mega to think about.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, social media is a whole other, like rabbit hole that we could go down. It's, social media is crazy. The two things I can just say to everybody: one, no one is living the life that they're pretending that they're living on social media. Like that's nobody's life, just full of great dinners and great events and days at the beach and whatever. That's no one's life at all. And in the history of time, no one has ever won an argument on social media. So anytime you spend engaging in arguments or discussions on there is a complete waste of your time, because you're not moving anyone from here to there on that topic. But the other thing I want to say about time management too is if somebody says they need a decision by tomorrow at noon, let's say, right? I have to have a decision by 12 o'clock tomorrow. I will wait probably until 11:58 to give you my answer. And the only reason for that is every minute that goes by, you gain new information, you gain new insight, you gain new perspective. The dynamics change. The situation could change between now and tomorrow. And so why not use all that time to your advantage so you can make a better and more well-informed decision? Don't feel the need to rush into a decision when you don't have to. Like use all that time, because new information comes in, things change. You wake up the next morning and you feel differently about it, or some piece of news comes out, or something comes into your life that just change. Oh man, if I had known that yesterday, I would have done something differently. And sometimes your initial, instinct or your initial reaction is being driven again by somebody else's timetable, and it's hurrying you into something you don't even need to be hurried into. So I use time to my advantage all the time. Like definitely use it.
Such a good point. And I can learn from that one, because I'm very, as you know, very quick to make a decision then. So actually like waiting a little is a cool thing. And then I was also thinking, when you said that, social media and phones and when we think about positive mindset, one of probably the most valued assets or wanted assets is people's attention, right? People's attention. It's what makes social media a thing, or it's what makes phones so addictive, or it's what makes those annoying dinners where you're talking to someone and they're talking to their phone and you're trying to have a conversation with them. So time is and attention is what everyone's fighting there for, right? Like that's what all of the big sort of the money is in social media, where someone is paying for the ads, because ultimately you're just being exploited by going on it, because you're effectively being advertised to. So you're just you're the target, aren't you? When you're on there, you're the target. And so
you're just data.
Exactly that. And that's a scary moment. But I suppose, yeah, just coming into the mindset thing and the coaching and the being sort of in the right space, actually being in control of that and being able to, I am horrendous at it, because I find my whole life is run by my phone some days. I think probably my biggest tip on positive coaching and mindset is sometimes just ground it, put it down, put it away for an hour, leave it in the car, leave it grounded. Like for me, doing podcasts like these are great because I can't look at my phone. So I literally can't. Or being in a swimming pool this morning with the dogs, you can't really be on the phone, right? Like you've got to be present with the dogs, because if not, you're getting dunked. So it's that kind of thing. Like those are
That's how,
great.
yeah, that's how I am about reading books, by the way. I read hard book, like the paper books,
Mm.
because it forces me to put the phone down, concentrate on something, escape into another world. You know, it's very fun for me. The other thing I think that is important, and I think this is inside social media or outside social media, is how you measure your own success. You know, and I tend to think of it like, I say this, like, measure your success like a game of golf, because obviously, if you're in an agility competition and you want to get first prize, right? There's a trophy or there's a ribbon or something. Um, Anybody who doesn't get that, I guess, didn't win, you know. But if you came in eighth last time and you came in fifth this time, you still improved, you know. So I would still take that as a win. And I think the same thing about measuring success is important, because, like, golf, you know, you're playing with three or four other people, but you're really only measuring against yourself. You know, last time I was on this course, I did this, and this time I'm on the course, I did that. Because you can't really measure yourself against the other people, because they're just different people. I mean, unless you're a pro and you're playing in a giant tournament, you really just have to measure against how you do. You know, it's your game. But I would say that in general, like, take all your wins for what they are. Just take your win as it comes, and just look for incremental movement and incremental measurement against the last time you did something, or what did I do right this time? You know, like, I did it faster, I did it better, I did it more accurate, or I did it, you know, I tried something new. I've never tried something new and I tried something new. Yay, win. You know, like, notch up the wins for yourself, and don't, like, stop the comparison. You know, there's that saying, comparison is a thief of joy. And that's so true, right? I mean, it's like, just, you're never going to be somebody else, but they're not going to be you.
And for a mindset thing, I think that's so vital, because you can easily, like, make your own mindset quite toxic if you're constantly looking at other people and comparing yourself. For example, I was talking to someone recently about, like, what agility meant for me, because I've been doing agility over 20 years, and what I've realized is it's not about what I compete at. It's actually my vessel for adventures. It's my vessel for having more adventures, and I enjoy the adventures it takes me on. And so my measure of success is how much fun was the adventure, and actually,
Right.
did I stay a bit more present in the adventure, and did I grow in the adventure, and did Matt and I have fun in the adventure, and, like, did we get to, I don't know, have a cool dinner somewhere, or stay somewhere nice, or great conversation, or get to meet up with someone like you when we come out to California, baby, and, like, whoa, whoa, whatever it might be. But that for me is my measure. My measure is, like, did I have fun on the adventure? And I think that that's really important. That actually measures aren't just in trophies, or measures aren't just in results. It's actually very much in the journey and what you're doing along the ride. And I think that that perspective has been really helpful for me, and very healthy, actually. And I think that sometimes positive mindset coaching, or, like, mental awareness, really, I think you can take yourself. I've achieved some really big things in our sport. Like, I've won at big events and I've won at loads of places, but you can come down the next day and be really low from wins like that. You can, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, you can have won the biggest thing and you can just feel like the next day, like, what on earth was the point? And I think that's a really funny thing in a mindset, where you've gone into your own head on it and you've not necessarily anchored the right things. And for me, what I've learned to do is anchor the adventure. So the adventure is what it's really about. You don't really remember just the winning; it's the adventure and the surroundings of it.
Yeah, and I know you're an avid traveler. I love traveling. I don't like getting there, but I like being there. I don't love the exercise of, like, plane travel and all that stuff. That doesn't excite me. But I love being new places, and I love, like, meeting new people and trying out things. You know, and there's a lot of people who have said too, like, the best gifts you can give are trips, you know, or night at the theater or whatever. Like, that's so much more. Yeah,
Experiences.
experiences, 100%. And we did that when I think the first time I ever had a memorable one of those, it was like I was 17 or something like that. And my parents were like, look, for Christmas, we can either go to Hawaii or we can get presents. We can't do both. Like, we can do, and the three, I have a brother and sister too. Nobody even hesitated for a second. I was like, Hawaii, done. Like, you know, and it's one of my favorite Christmases ever. And we had so much fun. And by the way, they got us presents when we were in Hawaii anyway. Not big ones. They got swimsuits and flip flops and whatever. But it was, you know, it's a thing you'll never forget. Like, you know, I'm smiling about it to this day. Like, it was so much fun.
exactly that. And I think that's when we think about it. And I think this is what the world needs more of. It needs less stuff and more experience, less angst, more adventure. And I think that the more that we can show that, the better the world becomes. Like I remember meeting you and we went to the beach at Watergate Bay and I took you down there. And for me, again, like cool adventure. I remember Matt walking back from myself from our dinner and stuff like that, like super funny, like super funny. And just having a great time walking along the beach, you giving me 3 pebbles and like me getting to sort of like think about life a little differently. And I think for me, Bill, those things are the moments we live for. And those are the things that we anchor back to. And when stuff feels hard, you've got those moments to like take you and ground you, I think. And for me, that's what positive mindset really is. It's being able to go back to a good moment or anchor yourself better or stabilize yourself a little.
Yeah. And by the way, Watergate's beautiful. I really enjoyed that. So here's one other thing I want to throw at you, which I think is a very British thing that I think you struggle with, which is rules. And I had some really big success early on in my career. I went to work for a giant company, and I had never worked for a big company. I only worked for small companies, so I didn't really understand big corporate culture, and I didn't understand what big companies were like. And that really worked to my advantage because I didn't know what the rules were. I just didn't know. I was just ignorant. Like I didn't know. And so to me, I work for a small company, and a small company, your title means nothing. Like like titles are just like you can call yourself whatever you want, but get the work done. Like let's go. And whatever needs to be done, you do it, right? I mean, if the floor needs sweeping or we have to sign a contract, it's all the same person. Like just go, like do the work.
Yeah, you're the janitor, aren't you? You're the janitor and you're the CEO. Like you're everything.
You're everything. And so like, but at a big company, everything's just, there's hard lines and titles and rules and all kinds of stuff. I just didn't know any of that. So I was just jumping in and doing things that I probably shouldn't have been doing. Not in a bad way. I was just getting work done because I thought in my mind, like if I didn't get the work done, I was going to get fired. I thought like I need to work. But rules really are, I've found like as I've gone on, they're very subjective and they're very questionable. And if a rule is the thing that's stopping you from moving forward, I would say that's your fault, not the rule's fault, because they're all made up. Like think of the most strict real rule you possibly have, right? Like a law, okay, that's enacted by the country or whatever. That still was made up by somebody, and there's a process for changing it. So there's no rule that's just like that's it forever for the rest of time. Like I would say, by and large, keep asking yourself, why not? Like, why can't I do it this other way? Why couldn't it work this way? Why is it just because nobody does it? Is it because somebody told me how to do it? But who's this person telling me how to do it? Like, question everything, especially if it's slowing up progress. Like you have to keep moving forward despite the rules, and you will often find out that the rules really aren't the rules. Like they're just somebody else made this up because it was easier for them at the time. And so it's up to you to kind of think outside the box or carve your own path, because that's how success is going to happen. If you just keep following whatever's written down, you're going to end up where everybody else ended up.
And that's absolutely with Absolute Dogs and dog training, that's definitely where we are. And at the same time, in your own life, sometimes it can be quite hard to be there. But you're right, rules can be so inhibitive, right? They can be so inhibitive and they can be so stagnating, and they can be so just kill the joy from everything that's ever there. And I remember with the cottages where we bought two little old barns up the road, and I said to my parents, we're going to make them into little holiday lets. And my dad was like, no, that's not going to work. And I was like, why not? That's working. Like that's working. And then we're going to put a stable there for Eliza to have the ponies. No, you don't want ponies at home. Why not? So I really appreciate it, Bill. And at the same time, I know there's still a lot of rules that you're right. We do need to challenge a bit more, and we do need to question. We do need to ask, because if not, then you never improve the status quo, really.
Right. And it's all about goal. I mean, if you have a goal out in front of you, everything in between you and that goal is a speed bump or a cone. It's just something you have to go around or over, like you just can't decide that like, oh, this rule is stopping me from doing it, or this lack of a resource is stopping me from doing it, or time is stopping me from doing it, whatever. Those are all just things you have to go over, under, or through. Like you have to get around all that stuff. But I think a lot of people see these as immovable objects, and you and I have like strategized around a lot of different tricky situations, right, in business. And I think, we've had good fun actually thinking about like, oh, this is the way I think it is. Is it? I don't know. Like, let's question that.
Brilliant conversations about that.
Yeah, like what are the 6 ways we could navigate around this? I know this looks like there's only one path forward, but I don't think there are. I think there's 6 paths forward. Either way, what's the best outcome for you? Like, how are we focused on goals? How are we focused on, hitting that thing that you call success?
It's brilliant. And then I suppose one of the others, Bill, that like comes up for me with positive mindset and coaching is the people that surround you are really impactful. So the people that are around you, really, really meaningful. The energy that you're with. And I'm obviously loving our conversation right now. And before I was chatting to another really good friend, colleague, that same like energy. And she said something to me like, oh, your team are amazing. And obviously they're a reflection of you. And I kind of think, well, we're great at what we do because we're a reflection of all the team. And so for me, I think that's also really important, isn't it? When it comes to like mindset and coaching and where you are. And like, if you hang around with people that just come up with no solutions and they're always down and they're always a problem. And there's a lot of, I don't want to say it too lightly, but there's a lot of positions we can go into like victim status for. I know for my sort of current family situation, there's an easy space to go into being like a bit of a victim about it. Like I'm feeling negative about it. And actually it's quite disempowering, I think, to go into that space. I think the people you have in your circle, like you've definitely been great for me in my circle. And I hope that I can do in turn the same for you. And like, I think it's important who is in our circle, right?
100%. And even, I guess, a layer beyond that, inevitably, like in life or in business, you're going to come into maybe a disagreement with somebody or, a really tense moment. And I think we have a tendency to replay those moments over and over in our heads. And I always say, like, let's just say you had a disagreement with somebody. I think you wind up replaying a conversation that's never actually going to happen over and over and over and over in your head. And you're wasting so much time and so much energy and it's hard sometimes to park it because, you think I want to be right and I want to show them and I want to win and I want to whatever, but winning, there's no greater win than success, so you win by not playing somebody else's game. This kind of goes back to time, like they're now still stealing your time and you've already mentally moved past them, right? Like you have to just take that, park it to the side, because there's not going to be a win in that sense. Even if you got to come out and yell at them, what did that really accomplish? Nothing. Like now they've wasted more of your time. It's you're 100% surround yourself with the right people. And that's different for everybody too, right? I mean, some people are big time introverts and don't want to be surrounded by people in that sense. Like they don't want to be at a big cocktail party. They don't want to be surrounded by a big group of people at an office or something like that. But there's still there. You can surround yourself with people who respect your space and respect your time, and they want their space and they want their time, and you give them that respect. So it's a lot of like-minded in that sense. But I would also say always keep challenging your circle. Like dip your toe into new relationships and open yourself up to bringing other people in, because
I met 2 people this week, Bill. I met 2 cool people this week, like 2 really cool people. One who I just think is so energetically aligned. And I just think, like, I think the universe is cool at putting those things together. Like, really cool person. And I'll tell you a bit more when we're off our podcast. And then the second one, like a really mega cool business person, like really cool. And both of them, I'm like, wow, how did those, and they're completely different, like walks of life. Like I wouldn't have expected to have met them. And yet, right, bang, they're there. And you suddenly think, like, how clever is that? But you've got to be open to that. And so that would be my next thing in positive coaching or mindset. You've got to have space for it. You've got to have breathing room for it. And you've got to be open to it, because I could easily have said no, or I could easily have not made time, or I could easily have been closed off to the idea, or I could easily have just not accepted the opportunity or not been looking for the opportunity. And I think that's probably my end point there, that those are important and you've got to have space for them.
And it's part of travel too. I mean, like the more you travel, the more different people you interact with, different cultures, different styles. And I would say, like, I mean, I have a rule for myself that, like, I call it once a month I have to get out of town. But that doesn't always mean I'm getting on a plane and going somewhere. Even if I just go to another town nearby that I don't normally go to, or go to the museum in town that you've has been there for 10 years and you've never been to it. Like just go to something that's different and take yourself out of your normal space and just experience something different because it just changes your perspective. It changes your mindset. It opens up new possibilities. You learn something, you're a better person for it.
No, mega, absolutely mega. Well, Bill, it's been incredible. I know that changing and challenging our mindset is a big part of the battle. And I know that every one of our listeners is going to love this. Please share it, like it, love it. Make sure you review the podcast. And most of all, thank you, Bill. And we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.